Virtue and Freedom. Virtue and Freedom is an in-depth, 7-part series that presents the central guiding principles on how to live your life well, as an individual seeking happiness, as a contributing member of society, and as a child of God with an eternal destiny. Featuring interviews with series writer, Father Robert J. Spitzer S.J., and the multidisciplinary team of experts he has assembled, Virtue and Freedom draws on wisdom, both ancient and modern, to place the ordinary choices of daily life in their full cosmic context. We learn how to develop the habits of virtue that empower us to advance on the path to happiness, and how to contend with evil influences, internal and external, that tempt us away from the path. Some of the other experts in this series include Joseph Pearce, Father Gary Thomas, Dr. Kevin Vost, Dr. Mary Healy, Crystalina Evert, O. Carter Snead and Dr. Aaron Kheriaty. With series host Rachel Beauregard providing ongoing commentary between the interviews, Virtue and Freedom lays out transformative philosophical and spiritual insights to a happy and purposeful life, and it includes practical guidance on how to apply these insights through simple steps, a few minutes every day.
There are lots of obstacles to happiness. Obstacles that come from our own brokenness, from other people's brokenness, or just from problems in the world around us. Virtue gives us the power to beat all of these obstacles. And that's why this series is called Virtue and Freedom, because virtue gives us the power to overcome these evils, which in turn gives us the freedom to pursue happiness.
It can feel at first like being in a constant struggle, and yet eventually it actually becomes a liberation.
So what's the plan for this series? First, we're going to look at the reality of evil. Evil in the world and in our own lives.
We notice the panoply of negative emotions that begins to arise. Jealousy, fear of failure.
And what happens, of course, is I end up in crisis. I end up not happy, and I don't know why. I feel aggressive, I feel angry, I feel bitter.
And then we'll look at the ways that we can resist evil.
Sometimes we talk about problems at the biological level, or problems at the psychological, or the social, or the spiritual level. But in fact, all of these different levels communicate.
And finally, we'll talk about some positive principles that can help us lead virtuous lives.
Every time I go to my counselor, every time I go to my priest, every time I would go to adoration, I would feel so much stronger.
There's only two directions in life. There's a million plot lines, but you can only move toward God or away from God.
We've traveled to many places to hear from some of the best minds on these subjects.
How do we acquire virtue? How do we become virtuous? And some of the greatest thinking on this goes back to Aristotle.
It changes your whole way of thinking. It revolutionizes the whole way you think about yourself.
So by the time we've finished, you'll be ready to set out on the journey of virtue to freedom to happiness. Let's get to it.
Starting June 28, 2023. Every second and fourth Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. and at 8 p.m. Virtue and Freedom. Episode 1. The Cosmic Struggle and the Reality of Evil. Episode 2. The 7 Deadly Sins in Literature. Episode 3. Contending with Evil Through the Spiritual Life. Episode 4. Prayer and Discernment. Episode 5. Contending with Evil Through Virtue. Episode 6. Growing in Happiness. Episode 7. Social Ethics and 5 Universal Principles. All are welcome to join this free course, to be held via Zoom.